Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. On behalf of Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad Group and Iskcon Niagara Falls, I, Satchitananda, welcomes all of you. If there are any newcomers, we would like to welcome you to Iskcon Niagara Falls group. Our virtual launch happened last week. Excuse me. And by the grace of Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada and our local GBC, His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami, and the ardent cooperation between Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad Group and the council members of Iskcon Niagara Falls, we had a very successful launch. So thank you everyone who attended and those who could not attend for sending your nice messages of wishing us all the best. So thank you once again. So coming back into the theme and the mood of this month's Damodar Ashtakam and Damodar Lila, I would like to go into that subject matter. Last time I just basically touched upon the relationships that one can have with the Supreme Lord. So, by the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, Gaudiya Acharyas, I would like to now begin this session of this wonderful Dam Bandhan Leela, or the Damodar Leela. Today is an extremely auspicious day, the appearance of Radha Kund and also Bahula Ashtami. Due to the restriction of the time, there was a devotee who had requested that I speak on Radha Kund. But because of the main theme we have, unfortunately I won't be able to say much, but all I can do is glorify Sri Radha Kund with a couple shlokas, especially from the most esteemed Srila Rupa Goswami in his Nectar of Instruction, Updeshamrit. So before I start today's katha, I would like to offer my obeisances to Sri Radha Kund. In the last verse of the Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami establishes that Radha Kund is the most superior. He says, Krishna ochahi pranayavastiha preyos ibhyoyapi Radha Kundam chasya munibhir abhitastadruga eva. Of the many objects of delight or joy, and of all the lovable gopis or damsels of Rajbhumi, Srimati Radharani is certainly the most treasured object of Krishna's love. And in every respect, her divine Kunda, Radha Kund, is described by the great sages and similarly dear to him. Vyadaviya jata preshtairapi alam ashulam kima punara bhakti bhajamat tata premidam sukrudayapi sarahas natur avishkaroti. Undoubtedly, Radha Kund is rarely attained even by the great devotees. Devotees like Vyasdev, devotees like Bhishma Dev, They all know the glories of Vrindavan. They all know the glories of Raj. But even to them, even to Lakshmi Devi, it is impossible for them to attain Vrindavan, and what to talk about Radhakund. Therefore, it is even more difficult for ordinary devotees to attain. But if one simply prays and bathes once within those holy waters, one's pure love of Krishna is fully aroused. And also, prior to that, in verse number 9, in the Nectar of Instruction, Updeshamrit, the glories of Radhakund have been very nicely described. Vaikuntha Janitavara Madhupuri Tatrapi Rasotsavad Vrindavaranyam Udarapani Ramana Tatrapi Govardhanaha Radha Kundam Ihapi Gokula Pate Premamruta Plavanat Kuryadasva Virajato Giritate Sevam Viveki Nakaha. Meaning, the holy place known as Mathura is spiritually superior to Vaikuntha, the transcendental world. And because the Lord appeared in Mathura, Vasudeva Krishna, it is superior to Vaikuntha. And superior to Mathura is the transcendental forest of Vrindavan. Why? Because Krishna's Ras Leela pastimes happened in Sri Vrindavan. And superior to the forest of Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill. And for it was raised by the divine hand of Sri Krishna and was the site of his various loving pastimes. And above all, the super excellent Sri Radhakund stands supreme, for it is overflooded with the ambrosial, nectarian prema of the Lord of Gokul, Sri Krishna. Where then will the intelligent person who is unwilling to serve this divine Radhakund, why will an intelligent person not serve Radhakund, which is situated at the foot of the Govardhan Hill? So all glories to Sri Radhakund. Actually, Radhakund was discovered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he, through his travels, Radhakund and Shyamkund. And prior to him, when he came to Vrindavan, that place was called Aristagram, because there was a demon in the form of a bull by the name Aristarasura. That was the name of that place. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he saw two paddy fields, one dark with a water pond and one lighter with the water pond, he immediately understood, this is my Radha Kund and this is Krishna Kund. This is my Kunda, because Mahaprabhu is Krishna. And this is Gaurangi's, Radharani's Kunda. But he waited. He did not declare it. He let his dear devotee Raghunath Das Goswami re-establish this Kund and excavate it, so that today we all can lovingly immerse ourselves when we go there, or at least do some achaman when we are in Govardhan. Krishna Kund and Radha Kund are the eyes of Govardhan. Govardhan is like a wonderful shape, and it has got a tail also. So the head of Govardhan Kund with the eyes is Radha Kund and Shyam Kund. Of course, there is so much that can be said. One very important thing that I would like to mention is, it is at this Radha Kund, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur instructed Srila Prabhupada, when you get money, print books. When you get money, print books. And Srila Prabhupada took this instruction to heart. It also meant that it was the desire of Radharani and Krishna And who is Radharani and Krishna? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the desire of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was fulfilled by Srila Prabhupada by what is called as the printing press of transcendental books. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur called it the Brihat Mridang. Brihat means huge, gigantic, and Mridanga is the instrument. So when we do kirtan, we play Mridanga, but the Brihat Madranga is so loud that the glories of Radha Krishna, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, all the Shastras, the essence of the Shastras is spread in every town and village through the book distribution and through the books of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And it is only by His mercy that our Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group and all Iskcon centers all over the world, it is Srila Prabhupada's mercy that is extended to every soul that walks in. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Radha Kund, and all glories to Braj Mandal, all glories to Sri Kartik Damodar Mas. So, last time I had mentioned, just to briefly summarize very briefly, what does Damodar Ashtakam teach us? Damodar Ashtakam teaches us what Sistastakam mentions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This one wonderful word, Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam. It increases our bliss like an ocean, an unlimited ocean. Srila Prabhupada mentioned Krishna consciousness is dynamic. It is dynamic and it is not static. If Krishna consciousness, Krishna consciousness becomes static, then there is something wrong with us. Every day we should feel some bliss. Every day we should feel that we are advancing. Every day we should feel that we are humbler than yesterday. And that is Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam. And every day when we dive deep into Hari Katha, that will increase the ocean of our bliss. It also, Damodar Ashtakam teaches us the principle verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshashyami Ma Sucha. Surrender unto me, O Arjun, unto me, and I will deliver you from all kinds of sinful reactions. This is the message in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most important and sublime messages among so many other messages that Krishna is describing surrender. So Damodar Ashtakam teaches us how to surrender. And as we go through this, we will realize how all these topics are. Damodar Ashtakam teaches us Sankirtan, congregational chanting, and also very special Sankirtan, as when we get the chance, when we reach the sixth verse of Damodar Ashtakam, we will elaborately try to dive deep into this Sankirtan mood. Gaudiya Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada teach us Sankirtan. Then our relationships that are there with the Supreme Lord and relationships that are there, temporary relationships in the material world and the relationships in the spiritual world. So Damodar Ashtakam teaches us about our relationships, transcendental relationships with the Supreme Lord. And also, it teaches us that basically Krishna is the Satchitananda Rupam. He is the source of everything. And he is the Janmadiyasya, as the Vedanta Sutra and the first two words of Srimad Bhagavatam mention. Creation, the maintenance, sustenance, and the eventual destruction of the material worlds. But how Sri Krishna continuously nourishes and maintains the spiritual worlds and the rasa especially. Even when devotees are here in the material world, that rasa that we get, the taste that we get in Krishna consciousness, this is indeed coming from Golok Vrindavan. And this is what parts of Damodar Ashtakam definitely highlight that part. So we should make Srila Prabhupada proud by advancing and being true followers of Rupa Goswami, followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This Kartik month, we will dive deep into this Ashtakam and this Damodar Lila, as Jiva Goswami mentions in his wonderful treatise known as the Gopal Champu, chapter 8. So, like this, we have to understand that everything emanates from Nandanandan Krishna, Brajendra Nandan Krishna, the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Govindamadi Purusham, which Lord Brahma speaks of in the Brahma Samhita, which all the scriptures, the Vedas, the Upanishads, they all describe that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Etat cha amsha kala pumsat Krishnastu Bhagavana Swayam. And Bhagavan himself says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha is mentioned by Sanjay in the Bhagavad Gita. Wherever Sri Krishna spoke, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So we have to understand that the Supreme Personality of God is Sri Krishna, and everything emanates from him. And talking about relationships, just to give a few examples, because, and I think I mentioned that last time, if the original object exists, then the shadow exists. So this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world, or rather the spiritual worlds, because there are millions and millions of spiritual planets. 75% of the spiritual world, it surpasses the material world, which is only 25%. It is explained in the Shastras that the material world is only 25%, and we are just a very, very small fraction. This one particular Brahman is a very, very small, like a minuscule atomic part of this 25% of the material creation. But however, whether we are in the spiritual world or in the material world, the relationships will always exist. And these relationships that are there are that of Shantras, neutrality, Dasyaras, that of servitorship, Sakyaras, that of friendship, fraternity, Vatsalyaras, the relationship of parenthood, and Madhuryaras, the relationship of a paramour, a lover and a beloved, like a husband and a wife. So, all these five rasas, because they are existing eternally in the spiritual world, they exist here. But the main difference is, those rasas or relationships in the spiritual world are eternally for the pleasure of Krishna. Eternally for the pleasure of Krishna and Krishna's associates. And it is so reciprocal that Krishna gives the utmost pleasure to his devotees. But here in the material world, all these five relationships do exist. We have our neighbors, we can say in a neutral relationship, we don't serve them. From far away, we say hi, hello, hi Mary, hi John. If we see them in the front yard when we are cutting our grass, or if we see them in the supermarket. So, that's a where we have never been to their house. 30 years we may be living on the same block, but we may have never stepped inside the next door neighbor. But we are still pleasantly happy when we see them and we have a smile on our face. So that relationship is that, in the transcendental relationship, that of the yogis. They are simply happy when they are perfected, they get the happiness by getting darshan of the Paramatma, or the super soul in their heart and in the hearts of others, and where there is no service involved, just by the darshan, or just by the audience, but by looking at the super soul, Paramatma. That is also not so easy, but those perfected yogis who sit in those postures and drilling their respiration for millions and millions of years, they ultimately achieve that stature, because that's what their desire is. And there are certain personalities who desire that I would like to become an eternal servant of the Lord, and I would like to serve the Supreme Lord. And when they leave their bodies in this material world, they end up in the Vaikuntha planets mainly, and they serve their Ishtadev, Lord Narayana, Vishnu, or Narsingadev, etc., depending on whichever Lord Ramachandra, whichever relationship that they had cherished and practiced in this material world. Then the relationship of friendship. Some desire that I would like to become a friend of the Supreme Lord. But most of their lordships in the Vaikuntha planets cannot have an intimate relationship of friendship. So the Supreme Personality of Goddess Sri Krishna has this speciality. He is Purna Purushottam Bhagwan. Purna Purushottam means From him, everything emanates, all the avatars, etc. And he can actually fulfill everybody's desire. And if somebody's desire is, I want to have Krishna as my friend, and if our sadhana and our desire is so intent, when we leave our bodies, eventually we will end up as one of Krishna's sakhas in Golok Vrindavan. He will definitely grant us that wish. As a matter of fact, he will be waiting for us with open arms, just like he was waiting for Gop Kumar, as mentioned in the Brihad Bhagavatamrit of our Goswamis. So, and then if somebody desires that I would love to have this cute boy Krishna, this baby Krishna as my darling boy, and when they leave their bodies and when they attain that perfection, if they live in that consciousness, they will definitely get that opportunity to take birth in Raj as a Gopa or a Gopi, an elderly personality, where Krishna will be coming to their houses and stealing butter and crying in front of them and dancing in front of them and sitting on their laps and calling them Maiya. So, and then of course, another relationship that we see here in this world is that of a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or a husband and a wife, the conjugal relationship. And if somebody has that energy dedicated and that intense desire that I want Krishna as my husband or as my lover, and when that perfection is attained through pure bhakti, one is able, when they leave their body, when they are in that consciousness, practicing that Madhurya Ras, especially under the line of Rupa Goswami, in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the line of Iskcon, we are actually in that, like in that school or university where we are being taught a particular subject in theism. Please try to understand this, my dear devotees. It's a very important, fundamental thing that I would like to share. Like when a student wants to go in for a medical college or engineering, and when he excels, or even prior to actually passing the prerequisites, he already has the determination that I would like to, Dad, Mom, I would like to get into Stanford or Harvard, or I would like to get into Rutgers or in Oxford or Cambridge, and those well-known universities all over the world. They have those desires. They already have those deep desires. And more that deep desire, the more hard they work. And the more hard they work, eventually they succeed. So we should know, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, which school, somehow or the other, by our sukriti, from our past lives, we received some special mercy that we have been given admission, qualification or no qualification, into this Stanford or Harvard school of theism of the highest level of bhakti, which can never be obtained in any other school or line of thought. Not to undermine any of other school, they're all specialties, of course. Devotees of Lord Ramachandra in the Dasya Ras are very special. Even to obtain the spiritual or the Vaikuntha Ayodhya is extremely difficult. To obtain bhakti of Lord Ramachandra or Narayan or Vishnu, etc., that itself is a perfection. But to obtain the bhakti from where everything emanates, Nandan Nandan, Yashoda Nandan, and in those relationships, especially in Golok, specializes in these three relationships. What are those relationships? The relationship of friendship, the relationship of parenthood, and the relationship of conjugal rasa. So, just like in Vaikuntha, if I can give you a natural and a most common example, let's say we consider in this world a person, a president or a prime minister of a country, and they have a lot of close, the president or prime minister has a circle of his aides, ministers, senators, MPs. So they know the prime minister or the president, and they occasionally meet them on special occasions, etc. Even closer to them, to the president, the prime minister, is the personal secretary, advisors. But they're still in awe and reverence. They may be seeing the president every day, but still they have to respect in Aishwarya, which is called awe and reverence. They cannot address him by his first name. They have to address him, Mr. President, in my opinion, I think you should add this to your speech. Or in my opinion, this is what is suggested. Dear Mr. President, they address him as Mr. President. Then, if we look at another relationship, the same person, it's the same person. The closest relationship we find when the president enters into his personal home, into his quarters, and as soon as he enters, the little kids jump on him, on his back, and he becomes a horse for the kids. Like he plays like a horse, and the little daughter or the son is riding on his back. This is the most powerful person in the whole world, and he goes on his hands and knees for his little kids because of that deep relationship, the most closest. And then also with his wife. Wife calls him by his first name, and she says, by the first name says, please, you're late again today. You said you would be home by such and such a time. The dinner is getting cold. And she kind of even chastises him by calling him with his first name. So these things are only possible if we kind of compare that. These closest relationships are possible in Golok Vrindavan. In Vaikuntha, those relationships are very rarely seen. But I would say, just to give it a number, about 90% of the relationships in Vaikuntha are very formal. They're full of Aishwarya. And one cannot put their hand on the shoulder of Lord Ramachandra, or one cannot give a half-eaten laddu to Lord Ramachandra. No. If you all remember, in the pastime of Lord Ramachandra, when Shabri, out of love, she waited for so many years for Lord Ramachandra to pass through that forest, and eventually when he appeared, she had some berries that she had collected. And when those berries were collected and when Lord Ramachandra appeared in ecstasy, she started tasting those berries, and some she would reject and some she would half-eaten offer to Lord Ramachandra. And Lakshman got very upset. He said, do you know who he is? You're giving him half-eaten foodstuffs? But of course, this was one very special case, because she wanted to make sure that the sweetest of the sweetened berries would be tasted. Before that, she tasted it before Lord Ramachandra would eat them. So of course, Lord Ramachandra accepted those, but that is extremely, extremely rare. But in Vrindavan, in Golok Vrindavan or Vrindavan and Golok Vrindavan are non-different. When Golok Vrindavan descends here in the Bhaumya Leela, it is non-different. We have to understand. So a lot of pastimes are enacted in Bharatvarsh, in this material world. Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, Ashiya prapanche jivere karane Lila koile shubhista. You come to this material world, O Krishna, jivera karane, for the souls, those who have been averse to you, those who have forgotten you. And Korea, Lila koile, you perform different kinds of wonderful pastimes. Subhistar. Subhistar means wonderful, auspicious pastimes. As a matter of fact, when he comes here, Krishna, along with his associates, the Leelas are even more enhanced, more than Golok Vrindavan. But anyways, coming back, in Golok Vrindavan or in Vrindavan here, Madhumangal, when Krishna is seated amongst his friends in the middle of the day, when all the cows are grazing, they're picnicking, and they're opening up their different picnic boxes, and they're sharing it with each other. And when Madhumangal sees the laddus, he's snatching them all because he loves laddus, and Krishna doesn't get any. So Krishna, before he finishes the last laddu, he grabs that half-eaten laddu before it is swallowed by Madhumangal, and he grabs it from his mouth, the half-eaten laddu, and he gulps it. And of course, Lord Brahma is watching. This is a different Leela for another. Brahma Vimohan Leela is because of that in the 10th canto. So Krishna will eat. Krishna, when he's defeated by his friends, he is punished. Madhumangal and they say, all the other friends, Toka Krishna, Madhumangal, and the other friends of Krishna, Vishalaksha, they say, Krishna, so what? We are not as rich as your father, Nanda Maharaj. Maybe he has got 900,000 cows, but we don't have that, but you lost. So you must, you will be subject to the same punishment you'll have to catch your ears. Or one of the punishments is that you have to carry the other cowherd boy on your back and go home, walk all the way, carrying him on your back. And Krishna submissively accepted that. Krishna, with the relationships with the elderlies in Vrindavan, in Golok Vrindavan, when Nanda Baba said, my dear Krishna, only 2.5 years, 3 years old, I am getting late to go, can you bring my padukas? And the Supreme Personality of Godhead is bringing the padukas or the sandals of Nanda Maharaj. And he is also subject to all kinds of chastisement from not only the Vraj Gopis, but from his own mother. And especially we will be discussing this in this Damodar Lila. And in the relationship of the paramour, he is fully controlled by the gopis in the Madhurya Rasa. The gopis make Krishna do whatever they want. Krishna is of that even he falls at the feet of Radharani at times to vanquish her mana or her sulkiness. Like Jaydev Goswami mentions in that famous verse, Dehi Pada Pallava Mudaram, where, oh Radha, please put your lotus feet on my head. I will consider myself very successful. So on and so forth. So these relationships are amazing. And we have to try to see, and in Iskcon or in the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, this is our perfection whenever we leave our bodies. Hopefully we will be so mature enough in our sadhana that when we reach the bhav and the prem stage, we will, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas, we will be given a glimpse of who we are in Golok Vrindavan. We sing that every day in the Guru Puja. Chakshudana dilo jai, janme janme prabhushai, divya gyan hriday prakashito. Birth after birth, you give us that transcendental vision and knowledge. What does that mean? Even if the Acharya is not here, he can open up our hearts to the Raganuga Bhakti. So that is our goal eventually. And in Vaikuntha, everybody knows that the Supreme Lord, Narayana, Vishnu, Narsingha, Vamana, Madhusudan, all these different personalities, they are the Supreme Lord. But, and in the Vaikuntha part, there is Dwarka and Mathura also. There also, they know that he is the Supreme Lord. Like Mother Kunti prays in the first canto in the Kunti Stava, chapter 8, Namasya Purusham Adhyam, Ishvara Prakrite Param, Alaksham Sarva Bhutanam, Antar Bahir Avastitam. Mother Kunti, by birth, she is Krishna's aunt. But immediately she recognized that Namasya Purusham Adhyam, I offer my obeisances to you, oh the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is when Krishna was leaving for Dwarka. So the Mathura Vasis and the Dwarka Vasis, they know that he is Namasya Purusham Adhyam. They know. But in Golok Vrindavan, due to the influence, special influence of Yoga Maya, Krishna actually forgets that he himself is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he makes everybody else forget that he is that Supreme Lord. This is an amazing concept which is not to be found in any other part of creation, neither in any of the Vaikuntha planets. And as we come closer to the verses of this wonderful treatise by Satyavrat Muni, the Damodar Ashtakam, we will be trying to highlight these points. There's so much, it's so in depth that perhaps even 2 months will not be sufficient, 8 weeks, but I will try to compress as much as I can. In Golok Vrindavan, they just love him because he is Sri Krishna. And Yogamaya makes devotees forget that he is the Supreme Personality. They love him because he's so cute. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a wonderful description of his beauty. Barhapidam natvar vapu karneya karini karam bibratavasah kanaka kapisam vaijayantim chamalam randharana venu radharasin sudha Yapurayan Gopa Vrindair Vrindaranya Swapada Ramanam Pravisad Gita Kirti. There are so many wonderful descriptions. One of those verses, it is actually one of these verses, something similar, that turned around Sukadeva Goswami when he left his home When he appeared, he immediately left his father and mother Vyasadeva behind in a very naked state, in a Digambar state. Then he says, I don't want to stay here, I just want to go to the forest. And in the forest, when children were playing and they were here singing the glories and the beauty of Krishna, he stopped. And he said, who taught you this? And he said, Vyasadeva taught me this. Oh, really? And then he went back to his father and he learned the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's how he was able to speak Srimad Bhagavatam. So wearing a beautiful peacock feather, ornament on his head, blue Karnika flowers on his ears, a yellow garment, pitambar, as brilliant as gold, and the Vaijayanti garland, the garland made of the Vaijayanti flowers. Lord Krishna exhibited his transcendental form as the greatest of dancers, Natwara Vapu, as he entered the forest of Vrindavan. This is the beautiful description that Sukadeva Goswami Pad is giving in the 10th canto before the Ras Leela. He filled the holes of his flute with his nectarian lips, and the cowherd boys were also there, and he sang his glories. So this is what Sri Krishna, they just love him because Krishna is just so attractive. He's so beautiful. He's so cute. Navanirada nindita kanti dharam raso sagar nagar bhupavaram shubhavanki macharu shikhanda shikhim bhaja Krishna nidhim vrajaraja sutam bhaja Krishna nidhim vrajaraja sutam bhaja Krishna nidhim vrajaraja sutam. One great poet says that he is the ocean of rasa, Sri Krishna, and he is so beautiful that even it puts to shame a freshly formed cloud. That is the beauty of Krishna. So Krishna is so attractive for the Vrajvasis. He doesn't have to have a very superior position as the Supreme Lord to attract them. They are naturally attracted to them. So this Dambandhan Leela, or the Damodar Lila and the Damodar Ashtakam, speak about this wonderful pastime of Sri Krishna. In the 10th canto, which is the Samam Bonam, Srila Prabhupada calls that 10th canto as the Samam Bonam. After Krishna appeared, he killed the demon Putna. After killing Putna, he killed Shaktasur, then Trunavrata. And then in chapter 9, the wonderful chapter where Krishna is being bound by Mother Ashoda. And in then chapter 10, the deliverance of the Yamala Arjuna trees has been described. So which is actually a very much in this Damodar Ashtakam and the Dambandhan Leela. So some Satya Yugas ago, in the Padma Puran, there is a conversation between Naradji and many rishis. So the many rishis headed by Shaunak Rishi. Naradji and Shaunak Rishi have a wonderful conversation eons ago. This is and sometime, in some Satya Yuga, we don't even know which Satya Yuga, because this is like a very, very, since time immemorial, this conversation about Satyavrat Muni's Damodar Ashtakam has been highlighted in the Padma Puran. And it is during this Kartik Diwali time, during the Sanatan Dharmis, Hindus, I hate to call the word use Hindus, it's the New Year's Eve, Diwali day. So next Saturday, I believe, is Diwali. Wishing you everyone a very, very happy Diwali in advance, and especially advancement in spiritual life. So during this time, in this Kartik time in Diwali on New Year's Eve, just before the Indra Yagya. So this is very important. We have to understand that at that time, Sri Krishna was only 2.5 years. There was no Govardhan Puja. At that time, the Vrajvasis, on the New Year's Day, or which we call Govardhan Puja today, was known as the Indra Yagya Day. It was known as the Indra Yagya Day. And this particular pastime has been mentioned in Jiva Goswami's Gopal Champu. And Jiva Goswami starts by mentioning that every morning Sri Krishna before he took the cows for grazing, in front of the assembled Vrajvasis, when they gathered together, every morning they gathered. That was the habit of the Vrajvasis in Nanda Baba's palace. And for the pleasure of Nanda Baba and his four brothers, and Krishna and Balram and all the other Vrajvasis who had assembled, two personalities, two Gopas, Snigdha Kantha and Madhu Kantha, narrated Krishna's pastimes. So they would narrate all different kinds of Krishna's pastimes. Just like if you all remember in Ramayana, Love and Kush, they went to every part, especially in Ayodhya, narrating the different pastimes of Lord Ramachandra. Although they had never seen their father, Lord Ramachandra, because they had heard them from Valmiki when Mother Sita was in exile. So both the sons of Lord Ramachandra, Love and Kush, they sang the Ramayana very gloriously on their veenas. So similarly, Snigdha Kantha and Madhu Kantha. Snigdha Kantha, Snigdha means very soft. Kantha means they had a very nice kantha, like a voice or a throat. Snigdha and Madhu means like very sweet like honey. So both these were kirtanyas, and they sang the glories of Sri Krishna every morning, different pastimes that melodiously on their veena. And then this particular occasion in Gopal Champu, Jiva Goswami Pad mentions that they started singing the glories of the Dambandhan Lila, the Damodar Lila. And what these brothers narrated one day is about to be described in this Katha, in this Damodar Lila, along with the commentaries of Sanatana Goswami Pad, Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. A combination of all these, we have tried to present this to the devotees, and it is for the pleasure of Radha Damodar, Yashoda Damodar, for Damodarji, and for the pleasure of our Vaishnava Acharyas. So I hope whatever I speak, whatever emanates from my mouth is very pleasing to our Acharyas. And if there are any mistakes, I am asking for forgiveness in advance. It would be due to my inebrities. But the Katha, the concept and the actual theme and the Leela are perfect in itself. So Govardhan Puja, as I mentioned, was started when Krishna was 7 years old. When Krishna convinced the Vrajvasis and his father Nanda Baba that we do not need to worship Indra. Why we should worship Indra? In a nutshell, I'm not here to give a lecture on Govardhan Puja, but in a nutshell, it is kind of connected so that we can get a link. He mentions that we should actually worship Govardhan. And what does Govardhan mean? Go means cows, Go means gopis, Go means gopas, Go means Gokul, Go means the Indriya or the senses of all the devotees. Is it not true that when we are chanting the holy names, or when we are speaking Katha, or when we are hearing Hari Katha, it gives us so much pleasure if we pay attention to it? We can actually, our acharyas say, we can take darshan of the Supreme Lord. How? Not through the eyes, but through the ears. So the ears are our senses. And when we are standing in front of the beautiful Lalita Vishakha Radha Shyam Sundarji in Vrindavan, or Gaur Nitai, Radha Kirchor Gopinath, Jagannath Baldev, Subhadra Devi in the Toronto temple, and the so many different beautiful temples that Srila Prabhupada inspired and built all over the world, it gives us so much pleasure to our eyes just by the mere darshan. So go, Vardhan, and Vardhan means to give pleasure, to increase that pleasure. Vardhanam, Ananda Ambudhi Vardhanam, increasing the bliss and the ocean of bliss. Vardhanam means the bliss. So at this time, when Krishna was just about approximately 2.5 years, on Diwali day, the whole Nanda Bhavan was completely empty. It was just Nandarani, Yashodamai, and Lala, Krishna. In Vraj, the term of endearment for any baby boy or a young boy, everybody addresses them as Lala. And a little girl is addressed as Lali. I'm sure when you are in Braj Mandal, you have probably heard the Brajvasis speak like that. Is it not true? They do that, right? They say, hey Lala, come here. Oh Lali, come here. So, Yashoda Mai, Lala, 2.5 years old Krishna, it was early morning, and Snigdha Kantha is describing the following scene. It is so early in the morning, it was in Brahma Murata, and Nandarani Yashoda wakes up very early. And at that time, Lala, Krishna, is in a very, very deep sleep. And when she wakes up, before she even gets out of the bed, she ensures that her movements will not disturb Lala's sleep. And she was actually crying tears of ecstasy, seeing the Lala sleep in the bed, and she was looking at it, and Snigdha Kantha describes that this little baby Krishna looked exactly like a full, with eyes closed, looked like a fully blossomed blue lotus, which with the petals of his eyes were so beautiful, and his mukhamandal, or his face, was so soft. Mother Yashoda actually very, very softly caresses Krishna's forehead, and her lotus hands are also described like new buds. That's how soft Yashoda Mai's hands are. And then Yashoda Mai, very softly, within her heart and within her mind, she says, Lala, I have to go now. It is Indra Yagya tomorrow. All the dasis, all the maid servants, including Rohini Ma, Balram, everybody, and the Vrajvasis have gone to prepare for this Indra Yagya. It's a huge festival in Vraj at that time, the Indra Yagya. And that Indra Yagya was to please Indra, so that Indra would shower sufficient rains, so that they would get enough sufficient crops, grass to nourish the cows. And if the cows are healthy, they would get abundant milk, and from milk they would get abundant milk products. And then that was their business. They were Vaishyas, Nanda Maharaj, and they would be selling their products to the different towns in Vraj, to the different places in Vraj, like Mathura. A lot of the products used to go to Mathura, and Mathura was a very big city. So that was the whole idea. And if Indra was not very happy, then he would not shower sufficient rain, or not shower rains at all. And so that is the reason it was a very big tradition to have this Indra festival, or the Indra Yagya. And we all know, those who are in the temple administration, whether in the Jagannath Temple, Canada, or Iskcon, different temples, whenever there is a festival, whether it is Gaur Purnima, or whether it is the Janmashtami, or any other major festivals, it takes the Jagannath Rath Yatra, takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort and a team effort to make a very successful festival. Lots of devotees, they come together. So Mother Yashoda, the elder brother of Nanda Maharaj, Upanandaji, Upananda and Abhinanda, the two brothers of Nanda Maharaj, they were actually heading this festival organizing this festival. And everybody had gone there to help, and Mother Yashoda also, they all needed extra hands. So they sent all the different, because she's Nanda Rani. She's not some ordinary personality. Nanda Maharaj. Maharaj means a king. He's a Vrajraj. Bhaja Krishna Nidhim Vrajaraja Sutam. Please worship the son of the king of Vraj. And the king of Vraja is Nanda Maharaj. Please, we have to understand. So they were very rich, extremely rich. And they had all the facilities, a lot of maid servants, a lot of servants at home, but all were sent for this festival, for the preparation. And the younger brothers, Sunanda, Nandana, etc., they were also assisting, and all the Vrajvasis were assisting to help with this Indra Yagya, or the Indra festival. And Yashoda Mai was alone with her Lala, and she thinks of her at that time when she's gazing at Lala. He's saying, you butter thief. She's thinking, because as soon as he had learned walking, at the tender age of 1.5 or 2 years old, he had already started going to all the houses in Brajmandal, and he was stealing butter. And Mother Yashoda was thinking that how is it possible? These gopis are really nuts. They're crazy. They come and complain every day that today your Lala came with all the little young coward boys, the little baby boys, hardly learning how to walk, the 2 and 3-year-olds, and they came and they ransacked my kitchen. They ransacked my storehouse where I had all the butter. They ransacked all that. Every day they used to come. And Mother Yashoda would simply wonder, how is it possible? Just see, we are actually selling makhan, butter products. We are selling yogurt. We have tons of it. Why will my Lala come to your house and do that? And like that, she was thinking of the butter thief. Navneeta Chor. Navneet means butter, Chor means thief. And when she was thinking of Navneet Chor and the complaints of the gopis, something dawned on her. She was saying that, you know what? Today, none of the maid servants, nor Rohini Ma, nobody is there. Perhaps, you know what? Most of the yogurt and the butter is being made in this household, in my Nanda Bhavan, by the maid servants. And maybe that is the reason Krishna doesn't like the homemade butter. Krishna doesn't like the homemade butter that is made in our house. So maybe I should prepare it with my own hands. And perhaps if I do that, Krishna will stop stealing butter everywhere else. So with that thought in mind, actually, she had the previous night beautiful sweet yogurt. She had already coagulated in the previous night. And now it was time for her to leave Lala with her, who was all sleeping so nicely, take a nice bath and go do her chores, especially make some fresh butter for her Lala. And Mother Yashoda did not have the heart to leave her little baby darling on the bed alone, but she at the same time did not want to disturb his sleep. And then she says, sleep, my darling Lala, sleep. I'm just outside. I'm going to be making some sweet butter with my own hands. Please, you sleep well. May you grow strong. May you grow big. May you grow nice. May all your different calamities or any kind of difficulties you have come upon me. Like this Snigdha Kanta is describing that, and the love and the Vatsalya Rasa. She just, when she was thinking all those things in her heart, in her mind, she was feeling that tears of ecstasy flowed in Mother Yashoda's eyes as she was thinking about these things. Eventually, she manages very slowly to get up from that bedstead, and it is Diwali day. So she goes and takes the bath, and she dresses up very nicely in the most beautiful silk saris and beautiful ornaments. We all know, especially those who are in the Sanatan Dharma or Hindus, that Diwali is very special. During Diwali time, we have new clothes, new ornaments. Those who are rich, they buy diamonds and jewelry, gold and silver. And those who are even poor, even if they cannot afford, they will buy something as a little token, because it is considered very auspicious to bring some wealth or jewelry into the house. And they generally offer it to their deities in the house, and then they wear it as prasadam and on New Year's Day. So Mother Yashoda is Nandarani. And on Diwali day, the description that is given by the acharyas, she is amazingly, exceedingly beautiful she is decked with all these ornaments, ankle bells, the waist belt, and with the earrings and the necklaces, and so beautiful, and with the silken sari. And her beauty is so beautiful that our acharyas say her name is Yashoda. What does Yashoda mean? Yash means fame, and Da means to give. Yashoda. It's a combination of two words in Sanskrit. Yashoda. So one who gives fame. So the bhava of the acharyas is, or the transcendental sentiment of the acharyas is, that Krishna is so beautiful because Yashoda Mai is beautiful. Especially those who are in the Vatsalya Rasa, in the parental love. They are thinking that, oh, just like, we see that when a newborn baby is born, so when the family members are either gathered in the hospital or when the baby comes home with the mother, a lot of people, they ask, who does he look like? Or who does she look like, this baby? So they immediately say, a lot of them, oh, she looks exactly like her mother. He's got the eyes, the nose, the beauty of her mother. Those from the side of the mother will say like that. Those from the side of the father, they will say, no, 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 no. Look at the forehead, look at the eyes, look at the nose. It has gone all on her father. So it depends on the bhav or the sentiment. So that some Vaishnavas feel that the beauty of Krishna, and it is true, Yashoda, she gives faith. On a similar connotation, the mother of Radharani, her name is Kirtida. What does that mean? Exactly the same thing. Kirti means also fame or glory. Da means one who gives glory. So because Radharani appeared in the house of King Rishabhanu and Kirtida Mata, the glories, the acharyas also say that because she is glorious because of her mother Kirtida. So again, all these is all whatever we will be sharing with you today and the rest of the days in Kartik, every Sunday, it is all based on transcendental emotions that have been expressed by the pure devotees. So some things are verifiable in Srimad Bhagavatam, some things are verifiable in the scriptures that have been written by the Rasik Vaishnavas, that expresses that explicit bhav and their feelings. So we have to kind of reconcile with these. So again, anyways, so Mother Yashoda is so beautiful, and then she so slowly walks out so that she doesn't disturb, because of the different jewelry that she has worn will not wake up Krishna. And then she goes into the next room, or it is mentioned that it is actually outside in the smaller yard. This has been mentioned in Gopal Champu. There, the sweet pot of yogurt that she had coagulated the previous day, she throws that into the grinding motor, and she starts churning. She starts churning and makes it into chas. And from chas, buttermilk, whatever flows on top is pure butter or makhan. Now, what happens when she starts churning that butter? Vrajeshwari Nandarani, Yashoda Mai, immediately goes into an ecstasy or samadhi. When she starts churning the butter, the holding where the butter is, the yogurt is held in that pot, that huge pot, and then there is a churning rod. And when she is churning, there is an amazing thing that happens. What is that? There is a transcendental sound vibration that happens. That transcendental sound vibration is of the churning, where when Mother Yashoda is churning with the churning rod, the sound is like dik, 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 cling, 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 dik, dik, cling, cling, dik, dik, cling, cling. So Jiva Goswami Pad and our acharyas describe that as if Mother Yashoda is about to start a kirtan. Now we have to understand that in the spiritual worlds, including Vaikuntha and of course Golok, everything is animate, everything is chitta, everything is full of consciousness. In this material world, there is animate and inanimate. Animate are those where the soul is in the body, and that makes the body animate. And inanimate are those are called jada or gross. Excuse me, Haribol. jad or gross, they do not have a soul in it. So a table, a chair are considered inanimate, and so many other objects in our material purview. But in Golok Vrindavan, in the Vaikuntha Lokas, in the spiritual sky, everything is conscious. So if there is a chair is also a real person. There is a Swarup. There is a Jiva inside that chair. A table, the flute of Krishna, the pot, the yogurt, the milk, the churning rod, they are all Vaishnavas. This is very difficult to understand because due to our experience in the material world, we cannot sometimes understand the transcendental realm. And the only way to understand is to have full faith in Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And that is very important, to receive this information from the perfect source. And we are so fortunate to receive this information from a perfect source as His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And the line of the Rupanuga Varga, the line of Rupa Goswami, the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As it is. That is what we pride in. We do not speak something out of speculation. We do not make things up. And that is why even Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. So many versions of the Bhagavad Gita are there, but none like Srila Prabhupada's, because, it is spoken as it is. And Prabhupada, when he was so much appreciated after he came back from the West, reporters, even the Prime Minister, when Swamiji, you have done amazing. You have spread Hinduism all over the world. You have spread the name of Krishna all over the world. And Prabhupada would very humbly say, we have not done anything. We have simply presented the message of my Guru Maharaj and the Parampara as it is. And that is the only credit we have. This is the only credit, presenting the message as it is. So this is what we should all be, should be. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that, Amaragya Guru hoya, you all become gurus. Jare dekho tare kaho Krishna updesh. Please speak Krishna consciousness messages as we learn it from our predecessors without altering the message. So this, as if it is a Sankirtan going on, immediately the bangles and the ankle bells are like the kartavs. Ching, cling, cling, cling. And the churning rod in the big pot is like the sound of a mridanga. Because the Vaishnavas have understood the heart of Mother Yashoda. It is not the first time that Mother Yashoda is picking up the different objects in the house. They are all Vaishnavas, and the moment she is engrossed in a particular seva or a particular chore in the house, she immediately starts thinking of Krishna, and she immediately starts singing. Just like if we are in a very good kirtan band, all the kirtaniyas, they know what the vocalist is going to sing. And to complement that, they will start the music very nicely and softly. If there is a violinist, will start the violin. Somebody's playing the sitar. Somebody may be playing the bass guitar. Somebody the guitar. Somebody the mridanga. Somebody the kartal. So the orchestra, it complements. So as Vaishnavas, this is what we have to do. One of the tattvas that I personally learned when I first read this, and I always mention this, that when we do kirtan, we have to see who the vocalist is, who is the lead singer, and we should complement that kinder and assist, because that is the seva, assisting. Sometimes we see that the kartal is too loud, or the mridanga player suddenly gets a rush of adrenaline and he plays it so fast that the vocalist has to catch up with him. No, that's not how it's done. And obviously, this music, especially transcendental music, Sankirtan, is meant for the pleasure of Radha Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna. Every time we do Kirtan, we should always be very conscious whether we are being invited on a stage or whether we are doing it in our home, in solidarity. It should be only for the pleasure of Krishna. Not that we should look back when we are asked to sing in the temple, how many people are there? Oh, there is only 20 people. Oh, call me back later. Some of these big singers, they have that air in them. So that should not be the case. A lot of tattva will come, and this is something for all of us to learn. And we all are in Maya. Some in a bigger degree, some in some in a smaller degree, but if that awareness is there, then that we have to create an orchestra to please Krishna, to attract Sri Krishna, not to drive him away. If there is a cacophony, then it will not attract anybody. It will, it will be just, some kind of a noisy arrangement. So as soon as that cling, cling, drick, drick, cling, cling, drick, drick, Mother Yashoda gets absorbed in that rhythm. And for it is mentioned by Jiva Goswami, for the pleasure to enhance Lala's sleep, to enhance the sleeping Krishna's sleep even further, the slumber, she started melodiously singing. Now we all know that fathers and mothers, sometimes they put their children to sleep with some loris, or what we call is some lullabies, or some nice pleasant music, so that they will sleep nicely, or they will continue sleeping nicely. So that was the intention. At the end of the day, everybody in Vraj wants to serve Sri Krishna for the pleasure of Sri Krishna. So in Gopal Champu, amazing verses have been mentioned by Jiva Goswami, which I would like to mention here. The mood of Mother Yashoda, the mood. And once we understand the mood, then we will understand the mood, the difference between Vaikuntha and Goloka. Mother Yashoda is singing. Vrajeshwari beheld the charm of his lotus face. She could see from where she was when she was churning. Her eye was on her baby. And she churned with a nice, melodious intensity and sang. What did she sing? Gokulapati kulatilakam tvam kruta sukruta vraja rachita sukha vraja nayanam anandi samiha. Oh my darling son, you are the crest ornament of the dynasty of Gokulapati. Gokulpati means Nanda Maharaj. The Vrajvasis must have performed great pious activities to witness you, bringing joy to their hearts. Your activities delight the eyes of all. Rachita Sukha Vraja. Nayana Anandi Samiha. Nayan means eyes, and Anandi means one who brings joy to the eyes. Further she sings in that melodious Sankirtan, where the assistants are the jewelry, the churning rod, the buttermilk, all making a wonderful melodious orchestra. Further she sings, Ananda Ubhava Janma Mahotsav Nandita Gopa Samaja Mangala Kruti Gokul Raja Mangala Kruti Gokul Raja. She says, you, O Krishna, rouse the joy of the cowherd community by the blissful festival of your birth. The gopis also sing. We just sang today the very first verse of the Gopi Geet. Jayati te dhikam janmana vrajaha. You rouse the joy of the cowherd community by the blissful festival of your birth. Because you appeared in this land of Vraj, it became even more glorious, and it gave joy to all the Vrajvasis. And by the recent auspicious act of killing Putana, she is immediately thinking, oh, when he was only 3 days old, my Lala killed Putana. You have spread the glory of your father. Just see. Mother Yashoda is saying that by killing Putana, you have made Nanda Maharaj glorious. You've given a good name to you. Just like we say sometimes, when a child or a boy or a girl does very well and excel, then, oh, you made me proud. You make your father's name. And sometimes when they don't do well and they are horrible, oh, you're spoiling my name. So Nandarani, Yashoda is saying that you have spread the glory of your father, the king of Gokul, Mangala Kruti Gokul Raja. Far and wide, you have spread his glories by your wonderful activities of killing Putna. Then she further says, while she is singing and churning, Dairya Nivartana Shakata vivritanam anubhavayena parita satruna vartaka vayu nivartaka parmesha nanita. Wonderful verse. Meaning, later on, that demon in the form of a what do you call, a wheelbarrow, a Shaktasur came, and he made everyone lose our composure. The way he was, and he was so horrible looking, and you was just sleeping under that wheelbarrow, but you were blessed with the auspicious rituals of the Brahmins. So that is why you were saved. So look at the bhav. Just like a mother, loving mother, thinking that, oh, it is because the piety that you got saved. And later, Sri Nanda Maharaj's worshipful deity Parmeshwar. Nanda Maharaj and the Vrajvasis used to worship Lord Narayana, also known as Parmeshwar, because they considered Lord Narayana as a supreme Lord. You are returned to us after destroying the wind demon Trunavrata. You are returned. How were you returned back to us? Because of the prayers of Nanda Maharaj that he's been praying to Parmeshwar, not knowing that this Parmeshwar, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is playing in her lap, playing in her arms, sucking her breast milk. This innocent gopi is praying like that, singing like that, and that like this, that Satrinavana Vartakavayu Nirvartaka Parmesha Nanita. Due to the prayers of Nanda Maharaj, Parmeshwar, Lord Narayana saved you. So we see the bhav that Mother Yashoda and the Brajvasis do not think as Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Further, she sings in a very beautiful tone. The kirtan moves faster and much more beautiful, and it gets much more ecstatic. Madhura pranga anavira chitta ringana jalaja nayana supanya nana khelishu nitya kalalishu darshitavara naipunya. O lotus-eyed boy of incomparable piety, it is due to your piety that you are saved by these different demons. You used to crawl about on your tiny little hands and knees in our charming courtyard. You have shown great expertise in playing various games and demonstrating many varieties of dance. So Mother Yashoda, while she is in Samadhi, thinking of the wonderful ecstatic pastimes of her little baby. Further she says, Tarnak baladhi Shabali tanvadhi valita manjula shobha jarati nevate kautuka kalahe prabalita mithya lobha. Krishna, when you used to grab the tails of the calves, they would run away, dragging you along. And those times were so funny, so gorgeous is your form, that I remember, she remembers that form, when you were pulled through the dust and the cow dung, which gave you an even more enchanting splendor due to the Vraj dust. While playfully quarreling with the elderly gopis, you would frivolously increase everyone's confusion through your antics. So this one we will elaborate when we reach the third verse of the Damodar Ashtakam. So like that, Mother Yashoda is thinking of the sweet pastimes of Krishna, and she is constantly singing his glories in Sankirtan. What happens when there is pure Sankirtan? When we actually chant the holy names of Sri Krishna or the pastimes of Krishna without offenses and with our hearts, the symptoms are that we go into a trance. We don't hear the phone ring. We don't hear anybody talking in the room. We don't hear any of that. We are simply absorbed. Like that Mother Yashoda, fully absorbed in the pastimes of Sri Krishna. She says, Mammataram anu sukham udavitanu pratatam satatam Krishna Drutaramuri Kurutanu Viddim Purukhelvali Krutatrushna. Oh Krishna, since I am your mother, forever continue to expand my boundless joy. Please do that. Every day you're doing something new. Continue doing and expand my boundless joy. Quickly grow healthy and strong and fulfill our desire by delighting our eyes with your many lively pastimes, O Krishna. Tribhuvana darshana vismaya marshara nischita Vaishnavi maya Hari varivasya sukhadantamaha svavigata jara marakaya. At first you caused bewilderment by displaying the three worlds in your mouth. At Brahman Ghat in Gokul, Krishna ate the mud, and everybody knows that when he was asked to open his mouth continuously, my Mother Yashoda, he finally opened it, and when she saw what she saw in her mouth, she's saying in this verse, Tribhuvana Darshana, you gave me the darshan of the universes. Vismaya Marshana Nischita Vaishnavi Maya. And however it was understood that by doing so you confirm the existence of Lord Vishnu's or Lord Narayana's illusory potency Maya. That I'm in Maya, what am I seeing? You're my Lala, you're my little boy, and I'm seeing all kinds of things in your mouth like you're the Supreme Lord. So this is what Mother Yashoda is singing. You confirm the existence of Vishnu's Maya, or Vaishnavi Maya. She uses the word while she's singing, Vaishnavi Maya Marshana Nischitam, a Vaishnavi Maya. Oh Krishna, may your body be free from aging and death. She's blessing her son, and may you become the bestower of bliss by serving Sri Hari. Look at the words. May you become the bestower of bliss to the Vrajvasis, to me, to your father, by serving Sri Hari. So this shows the mood of Vrindavan, that you serve Lord Narayana so that he will bless you and you can bestow the bliss that we are deriving more and more from your different antics. And then Sri Krishna, the ocean of eternal charm, woke up. And when he woke up, not finding his mother by the bedside, he started crying. It was still dark in the room. And we all know that when babies are left alone, even for a moment, and sometimes when the mother disappears, then what happens? At that time, the baby starts crying. So in this Damodar Lila, this is the first time that baby Krishna started crying, not finding Mother Yashoda by her bedside. And hearing the sound of that Sankirtan, that her mother was in unison with her jewelry, the Vaishnava jewelry, the Vaishnava churning rod, the Vaishnava buttermilk, the Vaishnava pot, etc. Krishna tries to get down from the bedstead. Krishna is only 2.5 years. And he sees that he cannot get down by himself so easily. So what he does is, he grabs the bedsheet and slowly moves down, putting one toe on the ground where he has a firm grip, and then slowly pulling more down on the bedsheet. He comes down onto the floor because the bed is much higher. See, so much details have been given by our acharyas in this Leela. It is so amazing. And the way they have described it, if I were to go shlok by shlok by shlok, this would take probably a whole year just to go. But the essence is being shared with all of you. So when Krishna doesn't find a mother around her, and when he's on the floor, he starts crying, and starts rubbing his eyes. And due to the rubbing of his eyes, his vision becomes hazy. And Jiva Goswami Pad describes that as it is a child, when the child walks or has a slight gait, like when he's running, what happens? He walks like a little baby elephant, calf. And it is a little dark, and his eyes are teary, and he cannot see very clearly. But how is he making it to his mother? He makes it because of Sankirtan. So here the philosophy is, Sankirtan is the best way to attract Sri Krishna. Sankirtan is the best way to attract Sri Krishna. Krishna makes it to this wonderful place, and where Mother Yashoda is grinding churning the buttermilk, and she is in ecstasy. And Krishna, the first thing babies want is they're hungry, and he wants the breast milk of Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda doesn't feel him come by, and she is so absorbed. Like I said earlier, that when one is absorbed in true Hari Bhajan, when one is absorbed in Katha, Sankirtan, in Japa, then the outside world sort of one becomes oblivious of the outside world. Is it true or not? So similarly, she was in some kind of an ecstatic Sankirtan Samadhi, not hearing the child cry, baby Krishna. And when that happened, Krishna starts going close to her, and as soon as he gets close to her, he starts tugging on her veil, on Mother Yashoda's veil. And as soon as the veil is tugged, Mother Yashoda kind of wakes up, from her samadhi, because she had her eyes closed while she was churning, and she sees a Lala on the floor. Oh Lala, you woke up, come my dear. And she starts kissing him, lots of kisses, and she says, come my Babu, come my Lala, I will feed you. And she immediately stops her churning, and she sits down, and she, under her veil, she starts feeding Sri Krishna with her breast milk. Jiva Goswami Pad describes, it is as if the moment she picked up Krishna in her arms, even before she started feeding baby Krishna, her milk started flowing and it started wetting the floor. See, this is the words of the Goswamis. And out of the pinnacle or the zenith of Vatsalya Ras, naturally milk started flowing. It is said that even when Krishna was grown up, even when Krishna went to Mathura, and when during the Rath Yatra time, when Krishna as Dwarkadish comes to Kurukshetra, at that time when the Rajvasis also come, Krishna is a king. He's already married with 16,000 wives. But when he sees Mother Yashoda, and Mother Yashoda sees him, even in that old age, our acharyas describe that her breast started again flowing with milk. And Krishna jumped in her lap in solitary and started enjoying that milk even at that age. So this is very difficult to comprehend with our mundane senses and with our level of bhakti. We have to hear from the acharyas and believe in them and have full faith in them. That is the way. There are three ways of acquiring knowledge. One is through pratyaksha praman. Whatever we see, we believe. One is through anuman, through hypothesis. And the third and the best method is shabda praman, when we hear from the right source. So, like that, Mother Yashoda caressing him, putting him under the veil, she starts feeding Sri Krishna. And as if the description given is, she is like a thunderstorm, a nice, pleasant thunderstorm, raining milk. And Krishna is described as the chakor bird, that is simply, the chatak bird, that is simply wanting that rainwater to quench his thirst. And he is continuously feeding on Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda is in ecstasy. She is crying. She is crying as the maternal Vatsalya Rasa is flowing out in the form of the milk. And it is understood that as if there's also acharyas mentioned that as if Mother Yashoda's milk is like an ocean of milk. Shirut Shir Sagar, unending supply. And Krishna's Krishna's hunger is also unlimited. So this is the description that is given. So while this is happening, Krishna in between, he stops feeding, and then Mother Yashoda thought that he's done. And then at that time, she takes him out of the veil for a second, and at that time, Krishna opens his little mouth, taking a little, what you call a yawn. And at that time, our Acharyas explained, again Mother Yashoda sees the universal forms and the universes. This is the second time Krishna shows Mother Yashoda Yoga Maya for a second. She goes away and she gets to see, and then again she kind of says, and he starts crying again. And again Mother Yashoda comes back to her motherly affection. Yoga Maya is again kind of, indicated by Krishna. What are you doing? Are you trying to spoil this wonderful moment between me and my mother? And then immediately it is forgotten. And then again she starts feeding Krishna. Now, while she is feeding Krishna, what happens? In the adjacent room, the doors are open. It is the kitchen, and Mother Yashoda can see that as well. There has been some milk that has been boiling. And she has kept some milk on the stove so that she could make preparations. There was Indra Yagya, and she wanted to make some things, and she also wanted to make some things personally with her own hands for Krishna. So as the milk was heated, the milk started overflowing, and Mother Yashoda heard the hissing sound. And immediately when that happened, Krishna's posture was that he had wrapped his legs around Mother Yashoda's waist. That's the description. And he was enjoying Mother Yashoda's milk. He was relishing it. But seeing what happened, Mother Yashoda immediately put Krishna away on the floor and said, Krishna, watch that pot, that yogurt pot. I'll be right back. And she ran towards that kitchen, and she took some cold water and sprinkled it on the milk, and the milk subsided. Now, there is so many wonderful philosophy here and so much wonderful bhav in this particular section of the Damodar Lila. Krishna, actually speaking, nobody in this whole creation, one of the qualities of the Supreme Bhagavan is the six opulences is strength. If Krishna has wrapped himself around Mother Yashoda with the legs, even someone like, it is described that Utna, who had the strength of 10,000 elephants, even she could not, escape from Krishna's grip when she showed her original form. And Krishna was just a little baby. So many devotees are trying to catch Krishna. It is said that once in Braj, Surdas was blind, wonderful poet. He wrote over 125,000 different bhajans. He was the disciple of Sri Vallabhacharya. It's the famous Madhurashtakam has been composed by Sri Vallabhacharya Pai. And Surdas ji composed so many wonderful bhajans. One time it was late at night, and Surdas by birth was blind. And at that time when he was sang, Krishna got attracted to his singing, and he came, and everybody had gone to sleep, and he was left alone in Vrindavan in the middle, not so close to his place. So Krishna came as the baby boy and said, Baba, let me take you home. So then Surdas says, that, yeah, I know it's late. I can take you. He said, I can take you. Then Surdas thought for a moment, this is very late. I can hear the cricket singing. There is silence. What is a little boy like this doing out here? So the little boy Lala said, give me your stick and I will lead you to your house, because he was blind. Usually what would happen, somebody in Raj would take Surdas ji to his house, because he could not see. So then it dawned on him, this must be Sri Krishna. So while Krishna was speaking, he kept in engaged. Oh Lala, which town are you from? And what are you doing in the middle of the night? And like that, the stick was already held at the other end by Krishna. He started grappling on the stick, trying to catch hold of Krishna's hand at the other end. And when he almost reached the other end, Krishna disappeared. So it is very difficult to control Krishna, to catch Krishna, his strength. But Mother Yashoda put him down like an ordinary child, just like a little toy, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead having the strength, unlimited strength. One of is called unlimited name, unlimited yash, fame, unlimited beauty, unlimited renunciation, unlimited knowledge, unlimited strength. So like this, that is the definition of God. Bhagavan. Bhaga means opulences. These 6 opulences to an unlimited extent. And Van means possessor of. So Sanskrit combines these 2 words, and that is what is known as Bhagavan. One who contains, who has 6 opulences to an unlimited extent. Mother Yashoda simply puts him down. Now, when Mother Yashoda puts him down, Krishna is extremely upset because he's still not finished feeding on the milk. And when, like sometimes, even when in our practical experience, when a child is drinking milk even out of a bottle, and you take that bottle out, the child starts crying, making a tantrum. And this Krishna started, getting angered, and he actually bit his lip, and he was thinking, Maya, I'm going to teach you a lesson. And now, in the meantime, in the other room, Mother Yashoda is now talking to the milk Vaishnava. Again, please remember, we had mentioned earlier that everything in the spiritual world is a Vaishnava. Chitta, Chidananda Rupam. Shriya Kantaha Kantaha Parama Purushaha. Kalpataravo. Dhruma Bhumis Chintamani Ganamai. Toyam Amrutam. Katha Ganam Natyam Gamana Picha. Vamshi Priya Chaka Sakhi. Chidananda Rupam Paramapitada Swadhyamapicha Chidananda Rupam. Everything is full of consciousness which Krishna relishes. It is meant for the enjoyment of Sri Krishna. So this milk starts talking to Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda's back is to Krishna in the little yard where the churning was happening and where she was feeding him on the floor, sitting down. So Mother Yashoda was talking to the milk Vaishnava. What was she saying? Milk? What is wrong with you? Oh Maya, I want to commit suicide. You want to commit suicide? Yes, Maya. Why? So Mother Yashoda, the milk says, let me die, Maya, let me die. I just want to, jump into that fire. Mother Yashoda says, why, my dear milk? With a lot of compassion, she talks to the milk. She's having a conversation. She's saying, Maya, look, I just saw with my own eyes. You're sitting in that courtyard and Krishna is feeding so nicely, unlimited milk you have in your chest, and he has got an unlimited appetite, and you both complement each other. Then what is the use of me? I don't think Krishna will even touch me, touch his lips to me. So I feel so useless. And that is the bhav of a Vaishnava. Some good philosophy here. We should never feel satisfied with any kind of seva we do. We should always feel that we have not done enough. We should never feel proud that if 20 people, say, oh, you've done a wonderful job. Yes, they do it for encouragement purposes. But we personally should be very humble, thinking that I have not done enough, I'm nothing. And if we continue with that bhav, the advancement is guaranteed and it will please Sri Krishna. So, hearing the milk, Krishna, who was angered, was kind of pleased hearing this conversation. Externally, he shows that he is not pleased, but internally, he feels very happy that my mother is pacifying the milk. Just like a senior Vaishnava or a guru guides the other Vaishnavas. There's Madhyam, there is Kanishta Vaishnava, there is Madhyam Vaishnava, and there is Uttam Vaishnava. Kanishta Vaishnava is that person or a neophyte devotee who thinks that only I am the devotee and expects respect only for the self. He has faith in the Lord, but he doesn't respect all other devotees. A Madhyam Vaishnava is that, of course there is a lot more description. A Madhyam Vaishnava is that he not only has faith in the Lord, but he respects all Vaishnavas. And he encourages the juniors. And an Uttam Vaishnava is that he thinks that he is not a devotee, everybody else is a devotee. So an Uttam devotee has to come to a Madhyam platform to preach. Like Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, all the Parampara Acharyas, they are all Uttam Adhikaris, Uttam Vaishnavas. But when they come to preach, they will come down on the Madhyam Uttam platform. And the only reason they do this is for the well-being of the souls. Otherwise, they will never be able to preach. If they remain on that Uttam platform, they will be thinking, I am the worst in the world. Like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, before starting Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that I am like a worm in a stool. This is what he feels. So useless. That is the humility that they have. So when they have that humility, they cannot preach. When you're in that very, very extreme, humble bhajan mood, one cannot preach. So Prabhupada was also in that mood in Sri Vrindavan Dham in Radha Damodar temple. But then he was reminded of his Guru Maharaj's wishes. That's why he came down to the Madhyam Uttam platform and he came to preach. And that is why we are all gathered here by his mercy. So in that conversation, Mother Yashoda is telling the milk, "Arey milk bhaiya, how naive of you, of course I'm going to use you in Krishna's service. Of course. So you think I can make sandesh, rasgullas, all the different sweets out of my milk that is flowing from my chest? No. And Krishna loves these sweets. So obviously I'm going to use you. Why are you worried?" And like that, she pacifies a senior Vaishnavi, pacifying another Vaishnava, giving him solace. This is a very important thing. When we come to the movement, Prabhupada says it takes thousands of gallons of blood to make one devotee. And sometimes due to our behavior, sometimes we drive people away. And Srila Prabhupada is not pleased with that. One time, I will end in a couple minutes. One time, Srila Prabhupada's Gurudev, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was giving pravachan, and one of his disciples, Grihastha disciples, was sitting in the class. And in the middle of that class, his wife came, took him by the sleeve and dragged him out from that hall where Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada was giving class, giving lecture. And later on, it is said, the Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada cried in front of a few disciples. He says, "Look, Maya is so powerful. I could not do anything for my disciple. She just came and took away my disciple right in front of my eyes." My humble request, and this message also goes for myself. Let us, if we cannot say something good, at least don't say something bad. We should never discourage anybody. Encourage everyone in this Krishna consciousness. Any minute, we can get kicked out of this world. We all know how many people that we know due to COVID-19 have left their bodies. Personally, we know. Prabhupada said that the success of human life is when we can remember Krishna at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam tajeti ante kalevaram. Even Krishna says that. Whatever your consciousness at the time of death, you will attain that. If you remember me, you will come to me. So is it not our duty to help each other rather than driving people away? Sometimes we are envious. Somebody does a slightly better job than us, whether it is cooking in the temple or kirtan or speaking well. immediately they are envious, they spread rumors, and they say all kinds of nasty things that are not true. And Srila Prabhupada always said for such people, they are actually cannot appreciate the beauty of the moon, but they are looking at the spots on the moon. They are like flies, they want to sit on the garbage. They are not like the bumblebees that they only go after the nectar. So we have to encourage each other. This is what we learn from Yashodama and the conversation of milk, Vaishnava. So I will end here now. We will continue this next Sunday, same time, with this Damodar Lila. The stage has almost have been said. The first verse, Namami Ishwaram Satchitananda Rupam Lashata Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Biyulu Kaladhavamanam Paramashtam Atyanto Tato Dhrutya Gopya. So, thank you very much for attending this Damodar Lila in the month of Kartik. And I am I feel very humbled that somehow or the other I'm able to remember these pastimes and share it with you all. And again, one more time, if there are any mistakes or anything that that may not sound that great, it could be my inebrities, please forgive me. But I try to present it as it is to all of you based on the wonderful understanding and realizations of our acharyas. Every year we sing the Damodar Ashtakam. Every year we read the translation. And it's good to read the translation, but how in depth it is, this Damodar Lila, that, we shall just, all relish it together in the coming Sundays in the month of Kartik. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.